Mark Ellison had spent most of his life exploring places that nobody else cared to visit. He liked quiet places, wide spaces, and the feeling of being far away from anything familiar. That was why he took a 5-month contract to map the dense forests of Luma 9, a distant alien moon filled with strange wildlife and even stranger weather. The work was simple. Walk, scan, record, return. The danger was the part nobody mentioned. This moon had creatures faster than wolves, insects larger than backpacks, and storms that could wipe an entire campsite in minutes. But Mark never felt truly alone. He had Rex. Rex was a large rescue dog trained for search missions back on Earth. He was strong, smart, and loyal enough to follow Mark anywhere, even into places normal people avoided. On Luma 9, Rex acted as a second pair of eyes, a warning system, and sometimes even a comfort. Mark trusted Rex more than any technology in his pack. On a cold afternoon, while Mark checked the rocky ground for mineral signatures, Rex suddenly stiffened. His ears lifted. His nose pointed toward a thick patch of blue-leaved bushes. Mark knew this posture well. Rex had sensed something alive. "What is it, buddy?" Mark whispered. Rex growled low in his throat and took 2 steps forward. Then he barked once, sharp and urgent, and ran off into the woods. Mark didn't hesitate. Wherever Rex went, trouble was near. He grabbed his pack, activated his wrist light, and followed. The forest thickened quickly. Trees twisted overhead like claws, blocking the sky. The ground dipped unevenly, making Mark focus on every step. Rex, however, moved with certainty, pushing through bushes and vines, barking every few seconds as if telling Mark to hurry. After several minutes of running, Mark heard something he didn't expect. Another sound layered under Rex's barking. A soft, pained gasp. A voice, faint and strained. Mark quickened his pace. When he reached a small clearing surrounded by fallen branches, he saw Rex standing guard beside a figure lying motionless on the ground. The figure was humanoid, but clearly not human. Her skin had a faint silver glow, like moonlight reflected on water. Her hair was long and dark, tangled with leaves and dirt. She wore thin armor, cracked in several places, and around her wrists were markings that looked ceremonial. Mark's heart thudded. He had seen this species before, but only from a distance. They were called the Alari, a proud warrior tribe who lived far beyond human settlements. They rarely spoke to outsiders. And when they did, they treated humans like insignificant creatures. But this one, she didn't look proud. She looked broken. Rex stayed close, standing protectively over her, teeth partly exposed at anything approaching. When Mark crouched down, Rex relaxed just a little, enough to let Mark touch her arm. Her skin was cold, too cold. She needed help. "Hey, can you hear me?" Mark asked gently. Her eyelids fluttered open. Her eyes were large and bright, glowing faintly violet. Fear flickered in them when she saw him. But then she noticed Rex. The dog's steady presence seemed to calm her confusion. "You, human?" she whispered. "Yes," Mark said. "My name is Mark. I'm here to help." She tried to lift herself but winced in pain. "Left. Alone," she murmured. "My guard. Gone." Mark understood immediately. Her people had abandoned her. He didn't know why, but he could guess. The Alari valued strength above everything. If she was injured, they may have seen her as a burden. "What happened?" he asked softly. She shook her head weakly. "Beast attack!" "They fled," they said. "I slowed them." The bitterness in her faint voice made Mark's chest tighten. Being left behind by your own people, that was a pain deeper than the injuries she carried. Rex leaned forward and gently nudged her shoulder with his nose. The princess, though Mark didn't yet know she was one, looked at the dog with wide eyes. A small breath escaped her lips, something like disbelief. "Your creature protects me?" she asked. Mark smiled slightly. "He's not just a creature. His name is Rex. And yes, he's protecting you." Her fingers trembled as she reached out to touch Rex's fur. Rex stayed completely still, sensing her weakness and fear. She touched him as if unsure he was real. "He stays," she whispered, surprised. "He stays beside me, even though I am weak." Mark felt something twist inside him. For her, weakness meant abandonment. For Rex, weakness meant someone needed him more. Mark checked her injuries. A deep scratch across her leg, bruises on her ribs, and signs of exhaustion. She needed warmth and rest fast. He gently slid his arms under her to lift her. She gasped, but didn't resist. "You are carrying me?" she asked. "You're hurt," Mark replied. "I won't leave you here." Her eyes softened slightly, not in romance, but in shock. Kindness was something she didn't expect from a human. Rex walked beside them, his posture straight and alert, clearing the path like a silent guard. Every few steps, he glanced back to make sure she was okay. Mark brought her to his temporary campsite, a small shelter built from flexible carbon fabric stretched between trees. He placed her inside, covered her with a thermal blanket, and set a heating unit nearby. She didn't take her eyes off him or Rex the whole time. "You show care," she said, voice faint. "Why?" Mark shrugged, trying not to overthink the question. "Because you needed it." A strange expression crossed her face. Something between confusion and wonder. She had lived her whole life among warriors who valued strength over mercy. A simple act of kindness felt foreign. Rex lay down beside her, his warm body keeping her company. She leaned slightly toward him, as if drawing courage from his steady breathing. "You trust your beast so much," she said softly. "He's saved my life more times than I can count," Mark replied. "He has good instincts. If he hadn't found you, you might still be lying out there." She closed her eyes, taking slow breaths. "He did not fear me. My own tribe feared weakness. They feared slowing down. So they left me." "What?" Mark sat quietly. He didn't interrupt. Sometimes silence was the best comfort. As night approached, strange animal sounds echoed through the forest. High-pitched screams, low growls. The moon cast pale light over the clearing, and insects glowed between branches. The alien world felt alive in a dangerous way. Halfway through the night, Rex suddenly stood, body tense. His ears shot forward. He growled deep, warning something outside. Mark grabbed his flashlight and peered out. He spotted shapes moving between the trees, slender, quick, watching. Predators. They had followed the scent of blood. The princess whispered fearfully, "They come. For me." Rex barked fiercely, stepping between her and the opening of the shelter. His bark echoed through the trees, not just loud, but commanding. The shapes froze, almost startled by the boldness of the earth dog. Rex growled again, low and threatening. One creature stepped forward, but Rex lunged out just enough to show he would fight if needed. Mark had seen Rex face wolves during Earth missions. But this was something else. Rex looked larger, braver, as if he understood that protecting her was part of his duty now. After several tense seconds, the predators backed away into the shadows, unwilling to test Rex's determination. When Rex returned to the shelter, the princess looked at him, not with fear, but respect. "Your beast saved me again," she whispered. "He does that," Mark said quietly. She studied Rex with careful eyes. "Why does he protect someone he does not know?" "Because he knows you're in danger," Mark answered. "Rex doesn't need a reason to help someone." She looked down, her voice barely a whisper. "My own people left me. Because of danger." Rex gently pressed his head against her arm. For a moment she froze. Then she slowly rested her hand on his fur again, letting out a soft breath. She had never felt a bond like this, simple, honest, without judgment. Mark watched the quiet scene, sensing something important was happening. He didn't understand her tribe's rules, but he could see she lived under expectations that punished vulnerability. Rex, on the other hand, treated everyone as worth protecting. As the night grew colder, the princess shifted under the blanket. "Human," she said softly. You did not tell me why you helped me. Mark thought for a moment. Sometimes people just need someone. Anyone. If our positions were reversed, I'd hope someone would help me too. Sometime. I'm C. She stared at him, as if trying to understand an unfamiliar language. To her, such thinking wasn't common. Mark, she said slowly, testing his name for the first time. I am Sayla. Mark nodded gently. Sayla, you're safe here. Rex curled beside her again, offering warmth and security. Sayla's eyes softened. She reached to touch Rex's ear and whispered something in her own language, something grateful, something emotional. Rex responded with a soft rumble of approval. For the first time since she was abandoned, Sayla drifted into sleep without fear. Mark watched the moonlight shimmer over the trees and listened to the calm breathing of both Rex and Sayla. He knew tomorrow would bring questions. Her tribe would surely return to search for her body, if only to confirm she was gone. Mark didn't know what they would think of a human saving their princess, but that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, all that mattered was that Sayla was alive, and Rex had chosen to protect her with everything he had. Their strange alliance had only begun. Morning on Luma 9 arrived slowly, with pale gold light pushing through the thick blue leaves above the shelter. Mark woke first, stretching his stiff arms and listening to the forest's soft hum. Rex was already awake, lying beside Sayla like a silent guard. The dog's eyes opened the moment Mark moved, but he didn't leave his post. It was clear Rex had accepted Sayla as someone who needed him. Sayla was still asleep, her breathing steady, her face relaxed for the first time since Mark had found her. Without the tension on her features, she looked younger, less like a warrior, and more like someone who had carried far too much weight for too long. Her arm rested lightly against Rex's fur, as if her body trusted him even before her mind did. Mark stepped outside to scan the area and check his equipment. The forest was calm, but calm never lasted long on this moon. He needed to think ahead. Sayla's injuries required better treatment, and her presence meant trouble was coming. Her tribe would not ignore a missing princess forever, and if they returned, they might not appreciate a human holding her under his protection. When Mark re-entered the shelter, Sayla's eyes fluttered open. She blinked at Rex first, then at Mark. You are still here, she whispered. And you're still alive, Mark replied with a small smile. Rex watched you the whole night. Sayla looked down at the dog, touching his head gently. He warms me. My people do not sleep beside those who are injured. They believe it spreads weakness. Mark frowned. That sounds lonely. Sayla hesitated, then nodded lightly. It is. She tried to sit up, wincing at the pain, and Mark immediately stepped forward to help support her. She didn't resist this time. She allowed his arm to steady her as she shifted into a comfortable position. It was a small gesture, but for someone raised in a culture where accepting help was shameful, it meant everything. You should eat, Mark said, handing her a heated ration pack. It's not fancy, but it'll help your strength. Sayla studied the packet like it was some strange artifact before opening it cautiously. The smell was unfamiliar, but hunger pushed her forward. Rex wagged his tail as she took her first bite, and her expression softened in surprise. This is good, she admitted. Simple, but good, Mark chuckled. Earth food tends to surprise people. While she ate, Mark checked his wrist scanner. The signal readings made his stomach tighten. Movement. Several life forms, large ones, heading in a steady direction. Sayla noticed his expression change. What do you see? Mark turned the screen toward her. Looks like a group of your people or something else moving toward this region. Around 10, maybe more. They'll reach us in a few hours. Sayla's breath caught. Her eyes lowered, shadows falling across her face. My tribe. They may have returned to confirm my death. Mark frowned. That's harsh. They do not rescue those who fall behind, she said softly. If they return and find me alive, they will not celebrate. They will question why I am not dead. She paused, her voice trembling slightly. They will see it as weakness. Rex let out a low growl, as if he didn't like anything about the idea of Sayla being punished for surviving. Mark placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. You're not weak. You survived a beast attack in a freezing night. That's strength. She looked at him with a mixture of confusion and something almost vulnerable. Humans measure strength differently. Your dog measures it differently. My people see only perfection or failure. Mark exhaled slowly. Well, if your people show up, Rex and I won't let them hurt you or drag you away. Sayla blinked. You would protect me from my own tribe? If I have to, Mark said simply. Rex thumped his tail on the ground, fully in agreement. Sayla stared at them both, stunned. You are a strange pair, she whispered. A human who helps without gain, and a beast who guards someone not his own. Rex decides who is his own, Mark said with a grin. You passed his test. That's a big deal. Rex barked proudly, making Sayla nearly smile. By midday, Sayla was strong enough to stand with support. Mark helped her take slow steps outside the shelter, guiding her through the soft forest soil. She leaned on him more than she liked, but she learned something Mark never pushed, never forced, never pretended she wasn't injured. He treated her like someone who mattered. At one point, she stumbled slightly, and Rex rushed forward, nudging her leg with his body to help her balance. Sayla touched his head gently. Your dog is braver than many warriors I know, she said. He's stubborn too, Mark laughed. He won't leave your side. Sayla looked down at Rex and whispered, Thank you. Rex responded by licking her hand once and sitting proudly beside her. But peace didn't last. A sharp, distant horn echoed through the forest, a sound that made Sayla's body go rigid. She turned her head sharply toward the trees. That is my tribe, she said, her voice tight. They use that call when searching for the lost or confirming death. Rex growled again, detecting tension. Mark placed a hand on the dog's back. Easy, boy. Sayla stepped closer to Mark, her uncertainty clear. They will not like that I am with you. 2, I figured, Mark said. But you're not alone. They're not taking you unless you want to go. Her eyes widened slightly. Humans offer choice, even when risk is great. It's your life, Mark replied. You get to choose what happens to it. Sayla looked away, struggling with emotions she wasn't raised to express. Before she could speak, the forest rustled, and violet-armored figures emerged from the trees. 10 Alari warriors, tall and fierce, their expressions cold. Their weapons glowed faintly, and their eyes locked instantly on Mark and Rex, then on Sayla, leaning against Mark's arm. The leading warrior stepped forward, his voice sharp. Princess Sayla, you live. Mark felt Sayla stiffen beside him. Princess? That was new information. But it suddenly made everything clearer, why her markings looked ceremonial. Why her armor was different. Why abandoning her was shocking even in a harsh culture. Sayla lifted her chin, though her hands trembled. You left me. The warrior's face didn't change. You fell. The beast wounded you. You could no longer move with the speed required. We acted as tradition demands. Tradition demanded leaving your princess to die? Mark snapped before he could stop himself. Several warriors glared at him like he was a fly buzzing too close. Human, the leader said with icy disdain. You were not addressed. Rex bared his teeth at the tone. A few warriors stepped back, surprised by the dog's boldness. One even whispered, This creature challenges us? Sayla moved closer to Rex instinctively. Do not threaten him, she said firmly. He saved my life. Twice. The warriors exchanged confused glances. The idea of a small earth animal protecting royalty was almost insulting to them. The leader frowned. Princess, step away from the human. We will take you back now. Sayla didn't move. Instead, she pressed her hand more firmly onto Rex's back. No. The warriors froze. The leader's voice hardened. Princess, I said no, Sayla repeated, louder this time. You left me to die. He carried me. He warmed me. He treated me without cruelty. And this dog, she glanced down with gentle respect, guarded me without being asked. The group of warriors looked utterly stunned. Their entire belief system told them humans were weak, animals even weaker, yet the evidence stood in front of them. A human and his dog had done what an elite warrior squad did not. One of the younger warriors found his voice. Human. How did you fight the predators? Mark shrugged. I didn't. Rex did most of the work. I just made sure Sayla stayed safe. Rex puffed out his chest proudly, tail high. The leader seemed almost offended. A beast? You expect us to believe a simple creature protected the princess? Sayla stepped forward, shaky but determined. Believe it. If not for them, I would not be standing. The forest fell silent for a long moment. The warriors looked at one another, unsure whether to be ashamed, angry, or confused. Finally, the leader steadied himself and said, Princess, your place is with your tribe, not with outsiders. Mark tensed, ready for conflict. Rex growled deeply, his fur rising. But Sayla drew a slow breath and shook her head. My place is where I am valued. And right now, that is here. Mark glanced at her in surprise. He hadn't expected her to say it aloud, at least not before her entire tribe. The warriors did not advance. But their posture made one thing clear: this confrontation was far from over. The leader narrowed his eyes. The High Chieftain will decide your fate. He comes at dawn. Until then, we watch. The warriors retreated a few steps into the surrounding trees, forming a silent circle around the clearing. They were waiting, observing, judging. Sayla leaned slightly into Mark, her exhaustion obvious. Rex positioned himself between her and the warriors, making sure no one approached. Mark, she whispered, voice trembling. I am afraid. Mark placed a hand gently on her back. You're not alone, Sayla. Rex and I are right here. Rex barked once, strong and confident, as if promising the same. Night slowly approached again. But this time the air felt heavier, filled with tension. The tribe had returned, not as rescuers, but as judges. And dawn would bring the chieftain, the one whose word could change everything. But Sayla already knew something her tribe did not. A human and his loyal dog had saved her life, and no tradition could erase that truth. The night felt longer than any Mark had experienced on Luma 9. The air was heavy, thick with the unspoken tension between Sayla and the warriors, who waited silently in the shadows. Rex stayed awake the entire time, pacing slowly around the small shelter, ears twitching at every sound. Whenever a warrior shifted or whispered, Rex growled low, a warning that he would allow no one near Sayla. Sayla watched Rex with quiet amazement. He guards me, as if I am his tribe, she whispered. You are, Mark said softly. He decided that already. Sayla looked at Mark, her eyes bright in the faint moonlight. You risk trouble for me. My people do not take kindly to outsiders who interfere. Mark shrugged lightly, though his heart beat faster than he admitted. You were hurt. Anyone with a conscience would have helped. Not anyone, Sayla murmured. Not even my own people. Before Mark could respond, the night shifted. The forest went silent, as if holding its breath. Even the insects stopped humming. The warriors straightened, forming rigid lines. Rex stopped pacing and stood still beside Sayla, tail stiff, muscles tense. A deep, rhythmic vibration shook the ground. Not footsteps, something heavier. A large creature? A transport? Mark stood in front of Sayla without thinking, shielding her out of instinct. From between the trees emerged a tall figure in dark ceremonial armor, glowing purple against the pale dawn. His presence was powerful, commanding. The warriors immediately knelt. Sayla's breath caught. My father. The High Chieftain. Mark tensed, unsure what kind of leader Sayla's father would be. Would he be furious? Cold? Ready to punish her? Or worse, ready to punish him? The chieftain approached slowly, eyes fixed on his daughter. He said nothing at first, only studying her face, her injuries, her weakened stance. There was something in his stare, not anger, not relief, something unreadable. Finally, he spoke, his voice deep and echoing. "Sayla, daughter of my blood, you live." Sayla looked down but did not bow. "I live because of them," she said, forcing strength into her voice. She gestured to Mark and Rex. "Not because of my tribe." A murmur rippled through the warriors. Some flinched, some looked ashamed. Others glared at Mark as if he had caused this humiliation. The chieftain turned his gaze toward Mark, measuring him with cold intensity. "You are human." Mark nodded, trying not to show fear. "Yes, sir." "It is said humans are fragile," the chieftain continued. "Weak. Easily broken." Rex barked sharply, as if offended on Mark's behalf. The chieftain's eyes shifted downward to Rex. "And this is the creature that guarded my daughter?" Rex moved closer to Sayla and stood proudly beside her as if confirming it. Sayla stepped forward slightly, though her legs trembled. "He stayed with me when your warriors did not. He fought predators. He gave me warmth. He protected me without hesitation." "And the human?" the chieftain asked. "He carried me," Sayla said. "He treated me with kindness, even though I am not of his world. He made no demands. He simply helped." The chieftain examined Mark again, and Mark felt like he was being weighed against centuries of Alari tradition. "Why did you save her?" the chieftain asked. Mark took a breath. "Because she needed help." "That is your answer?" the chieftain asked, frowning. Mark nodded. "Yes." The chieftain stepped closer until he stood only a few feet away. "Humans gain nothing from helping my kind. We have never treated your species with respect." "I didn't do it for respect," Mark replied. "I didn't do it for reward either. I helped because she was alone and hurt. That was enough." The warriors exchanged confused looks. Such simple reasoning clashed with their world view. For the Aolari, everything had purpose, rank, and consequence. Helping without gain seemed foolish. Sayla stepped beside Mark, steadying herself with a soft touch to Rex's head. "Father," she said, "I owe my life to them. I will not deny this truth. If they had not come, I would have died alone in the forest." The chieftain inhaled slowly, as if controlling some intense internal struggle. "Tradition says the weak must be left behind," he said. "Tradition failed me," Sayla answered. Silence fell. The words hung like a blade between them. The chieftain looked at his daughter a long time, then spoke again. "You ask me to ignore tradition? To shame our warriors for leaving you as the old ways demand?" Sayla did not look away. "Yes," the warriors gasped. No one challenged the old ways, not even royalty. The chieftain's expression hardened, then shifted. His eyes softened just slightly. "You have always been stubborn," he said quietly. "Your mother was the same." Sayla blinked in surprise. She had not expected softness from him, not here. Not now. The chieftain walked past her and stood before Mark and Rex. He knelt down not fully, but enough to acknowledge Rex directly. The warriors stared, horrified, as their leader bowed his head slightly toward an earth dog. "Brave one," the chieftain said softly. "You protected my daughter. You have my respect." Rex wagged his tail exactly once, as if accepting the honor on his own terms. Then the chieftain rose and faced Mark. "And you, human." Mark swallowed. "Yes? You saved Sayla when we abandoned her," the chieftain said. "You showed compassion where we showed cruelty. You showed courage where we showed fear. You honored her life more than her own warriors." Mark didn't know what to say. He simply nodded. The chieftain stepped back. "The choice now belongs to Sayla. She may return with us, or she may choose her own path." Every warrior inhaled sharply. No princess had ever been given such freedom. Sayla looked at her father, then at the tribe surrounding her. She saw the familiar cold armor, the silent judgment, the weight of expectation. Then she looked at Mark, who had saved her without knowing who she really was. She looked at Rex, who guarded her without needing a single command. Her voice was calm, but filled with certainty. I choose them. The warriors erupted in shocked whispers. Some stepped forward as if to protest. The chieftain lifted a hand, and silence returned instantly. You choose the human and his beast? He asked, not angrily, but with disbelief. I choose the ones who did not abandon me, Sayla replied. The ones who showed me that strength is not cruelty, that loyalty is not forced, that kindness is not weakness. Rex barked once, as if proudly claiming Sayla as part of his pack. Mark stared at Sayla, stunned. Sayla, you don't have to choose because you think you owe me. You're free to… I know, she said softly. And I still choose this path. Her gaze held steady. She was not running away from duty. She was walking toward something new. The chieftain exhaled heavily, then nodded with slow acceptance. If this is your path, I will not stop you. But understand, Sayla, once you walk with the human, you may not return to your old life. Sayla lifted her chin. Then I will build a new one. Some warriors bowed their heads not out of obedience, but out of respect. They saw courage in her decision, the kind of courage they had failed to show. The chieftain looked at Mark one last time. Human, take care of her. If you fail, you answer to me. Mark managed a nervous smile. I'll do my best. Rex barked confidently, as if saying Mark's best was more than enough. The chieftain turned to leave, the warriors following in silence. Before disappearing into the forest, he looked back once, pride and sadness mixed in his expression. Then they were gone. Sayla stood quiet for a long moment. The forest felt different, lighter, as if a burden had lifted from the air. She let out a slow breath and touched Rex's head gently. Thank you, she whispered. Both of you. Mark smiled. Well, what now? Sayla looked into the forest path ahead, then at the sky. Now, I want to learn your world, your ways, your kindness. Rex nudged her leg, tail wagging. Mark laughed. I think Rex agrees. Sayla rested her hand on Rex's fur, feeling the warm heartbeat beneath. He saved me, she said. He is my protector. Mark grinned. And my partner. Looks like you're stuck with both of us. Sayla smiled, truly smiled for the first time since Mark found her. Then let us walk together. And so they did. A human, an alien princess, and a brave earth dog, three unlikely companions, stepping into a future no tribe, no tradition, no world had prepared for. But they were ready. And together, they were stronger than any fear they had left behind.